Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me, or is YouTube going to be stupid again? Can you hear me in the chat? Badger, good morning. Hello. Can I get a 5x5? There we are. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good day.
Can I get a 5x5? Anybody? Thank you, Truth Faction. Good morning. It's been a long night here for us at the Bearstead. Severe storms and a 10-day-old that did not want to cooperate at all last night. Bless my wife, who is a saint. Here we are. So apologies that we're not here at our usually regularly scheduled time in the morning. We're going to do the best we can with what we got. Where are we at? Where the Ides of March. It is the 15th of March, 2024. A whole bunch of you, 40% of you, are not subscribed to this show at all. It's probably because your mom didn't hug you as a kid. The good news is there's an opportunity for you to do better now that you're an adult, and click the subscribe button, ring the little bell icon, do all the YouTube things. And of course, for the people who have been here for a hot minute, Shine left her drink. Do the YouTube things, share the show, leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm, blah, 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 blah. This show is brought to you by the creator of the universe, Yahweh, your Elohim, the Lord your God, the fine people over on Patreon, link in the description, and refugemedical.com, for whom I am the chief shilling officer and also the owner. I'd like to give a shout out to Bluey for this awesome shirt. Bluey with an M4. The little pedophiles aren't people. Thanks, Bluey. Yeah. We're going to talk about inflation today, avian influenza, and we're going to do the national intel. We're also going to talk about tornadoes. Kitty Alt says, I need that shirt. It comes from, there's some Instagram page, I think, called Become Ungovernable, which is an interesting phrase, almost like I heard somebody say that like 4 years ago or something. Almost like somebody sold thousands of ungovernable t-shirts 3 years ago during the Charlie Victor 19er, as our brother Rex calls it. Anyway, Instagram page Become Ungovernable. They have the Bluey with the M4 and the pedophiles aren't people shirt. So let's get into the brief. The national intel today. Please stick around for the national intel. There's some doozies in here. By the way, what's the email address, Bear? intel@bearindependent.com. And I want your intel, yours. Not, I don't want, Bear, you got to watch this video, or here's a link to a news article I read. What are you seeing? What are you hearing with your own eyes and ears where you are that's actionable for the rest of us? Please email that to intel@bearindependent.com. Okay? Okay, Bear. All right, cool. Bear Independent brief. The Ides of March. 15 March 24. Coffee. Out of my wonderful Mountain Readiness Fallout mug. If you're on the East Coast and you're not going to the Mountain Readiness events, where do I find that? Mountain Readiness. Google it. You should go. There's really good people there. And if you're trying to find people to form a mutual assistance group with, or network with, or do life with, or whatever, and you want an opportunity to network and lots of good classes from good instructors, Mountain Readiness, go check it out. I think I have a promo code for Mountain Readiness. I don't even care about the affiliate sales, because you guys need to go, and it's very reasonably priced. Like, you can afford to take the entire family. So just go. Okay, Mountain Readiness. Bear Independent brief, 15 March 24. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said in a recent interview, quote, "I regret saying it was transitory inflation. It has come down, but I think transitory means a few weeks or months to most people, and it's lasted longer than that," end quote. Yeah, no kidding. You think so, Janet Yellen? I'm so thankful that you at least feel some remorse over inadequately labeling the transitory inflation that we've all been dealing with. Consumers can feel the pain of the increased prices. Since the beginning of 2021, the cost of chicken breasts have increased by 26%, butter by 27%, and all prices by 18.5%. Now, Secretary Yellen has said, quote, "It takes a while for that to filter into the CPI or the Consumer Pricing Index," end quote, and that she expects inflation to continue to abate. This, dude, this is gaslighting at its highest form. Inflation's coming down. Does it feel like inflation's coming down? When you go buy food, when you go buy gasoline, when you pay your taxes, when your kid needs shoes, do you feel like your US dollar has more value or less value right now? It certainly doesn't feel like the dollar's gaining value right now, as far as I'm concerned. And a bunch of y'all are like, Bear, you got to get into crypto. You got to get into Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin just hit its highest ever. It's at $72,000 per Bitcoin or something. 73,000. Okay, cool. I like tangible assets. Call me old school. Maybe I missed out of a bajillion dollars in potential upside because I never got into crypto. But the spirit from jump was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Dan Pena, the $1 trillion man, I've seen him talk about crypto on many an occasion, and he said in so many words, if you knew who was really behind crypto, you would sell every bit of crypto you have. I like this. This is my kind of crypto. One of y'all gave this to me at the Ruckus, and this is an ounce of silver. I like this. This is my crypto right here because I can touch it. I have it. It's not on the blockchain. Let me ask you something. When the United States of America is yet again hacked and cyber attacked by foreign nationals and foreign nation states, and the cell phone towers don't work, and the fiber optic backbone cables have been cut, and there's no electricity, what does the crypto do then? Well, it's okay because it's still on a server in Japan. How do you access it? What are you going to do with it? Yes, I know it's on the ledger, and the ledger's on the blockchain, and it's been distributed all around the world so that at some point when you find a bar on your cell phone, you can access it. But what if there's no bar on your cell phone for 7 years? Because that's the estimation from the Department of Energy, 7 years to go from a cold start or a black start of the grid back to semi-reasonable operation of the United States American transmission infrastructure. 7 years. That's an interesting number, by the way, 7 years. You ever read the book of Genesis? There was this guy named Joseph, and his brothers didn't like him because he had this awesome coat that his daddy made for him. And so they decided they were going to kill him. And his older brother Judah was like, let's not kill him. Let's just throw him in a hole. Like, okay, we'll just throw him in a hole. So they throw him in a hole, and then some Ishmaelites come by riding their dromedaries. And they're like, hey, look, a Hebrew. We'll take him to Egypt. They actually trade him to some Midians. The Midianites take him to Egypt. And like, dude, we got a slave, sell him. And Joseph, because the father smiled upon him, even in his moment of tribulation, rises to the second highest position of power in the greatest nation state on the face of the earth at that time, Egypt, as the guy who's in charge of all the food because there's a famine for 7 years. Tomer Klein, 5-ton rooftop package unit was $3,200 in 2019. Today, $5,200. That's train or carrier. It's only going up nonstop to inflation. Year 2000, a gold ounce was 287. Today, 2,200, give or take, 100%. So this is the kind of disaggregated, non-governmental currency that I like. This is an ounce of silver. And thank you to the fine young lady who gave me this at the Refuge Ruckus. And this is out of Armenia, and this has Noah's Ark and the dove on it. I think you guys can see it there. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So you do you. Of course, now the camera won't focus because I made it focus on the coin all the way out here. Maybe if I bring it back here, who cares? I'm fuzzy in real life too, so who cares if the camera will focus or not? So yes, inflation. Es mucho garbaggio, basura, trash. Not a fan. Recent U.S. inflation data arrived as expected, with the CPI, Consumer Price Index, rising by 0.4% in February, a 3.2% increase year over year. This news has helped the stock market. Yay. Unlike the data released last month that revealed a higher than expected CPI in January, that one rattled the markets. The Federal Reserve started taking a more cautious tone after rattling the markets. And now, in the writing of investment strategist Lindsay James of Quilter Investors, quote, when you also consider the strength of recent indicators ranging from the still solid labor market to healthy corporate earnings, it seems likely that the Fed will continue to tread carefully at its next couple of monetary policy meetings. Oh, thanks so much, Fed. Thanks for thinking of us little guys. Consensus has been building around June, bringing the first rate cut, but today's figures seem unlikely to add much in the way of certainty to this, end quote. The still solid labor market, there's this weird disparity that's been happening since COVID. There's a high amount of unemployment. It's just not well reported, well documented. And then not only is there a high amount of unemployment, there's in many cases low amounts of qualified workers to fill the job positions that do exist. And so there's more and more people that need jobs, and there's less and less qualified people to meet the openings that exist. It's very odd. I know this, even the county that I live in rural eastern Oklahoma. There are some job openings, and there's lots of people looking for jobs. And I know a lot of these people who are looking for jobs, they're good people, and they're not idiots. You know, they've got something between their ears, but they're not qualified per se to fill the openings that exist. And then a lot of the openings that exist are like, go work at the Tyson chicken farm, things of that nature. And a lot of people that can't do that or won't do that for ethical reasons. It gets back to being gaslit by this administration. Jobs are up, earnings are up, inflation is down, cost of living is down, Bidenomics, everything's doing great. And it's like, see, they want to tell you that at a broad scale federal level so that you feel like you're the outlier, that your household that's not doing great, somehow you're the anomaly, you're the exception to the rule, but everybody else must be doing great. It's part of why they don't want us communicating with each other. It's part of why they want to ban TikTok. Why do they want federal control of TikTok? Domesticated American ownership of TikTok. Not that I give two shits about TikTok. I don't. But it's because there's a whole bunch of people who are speaking truth as they understand it there on TikTok, and the United States government can't censor them. Have you seen this bill that's been introduced that now the government, Congress wants to be able to decide what dangerous speech is and curtail that dangerous speech? It's because you got a whole bunch of people who have been red-pilled on TikTok talking about how dangerous this government is and how it's filled with pedophiles and how we don't need more global war and how we should serve the creator of the universe and be covered by the blood of his son, and how we shouldn't be, how AI is dangerous and the government, the people inside the government are corrupt, and that this fake money is garbage. Yeah, they're speaking truth. And that's why the government, our government, the American government, wants domestic ownership of it so they can say, hey, knock it off. Exactly, Tommy Salter. They want to control the propaganda. Because we talked about this on Wednesday. If you look at the platforms that are owned domestically, Meta, for example, Facebook and Instagram, they do control the propaganda. They want to be able to put those little notes underneath, false information, unverified, medical misinformation. I just had a video from 4 years ago pulled down by the YouTube algorithm from 4 years ago for medical information. I appealed it. I'll lose the appeal. And when I lose the appeal, I'll probably get another channel strike. Did you see I had my alternate channel pulled down? It's back because we appealed that. The Blue Collar President. You should be subscribed to the Blue Collar President because it's just a matter of time before Bear Independent goes away. You should also be on Patreon. Link is in the description. It's $10 a month, and it's not $10 a month because I love me and you love me too. It's $10 a month because I do the majority of my content, and especially in-depth content, over there on Patreon. So YouTube pulled my alternate channel down because they don't like people saying things that go against the narrative. Which is why they want, they want TikTok to be domestically owned so they can control the narrative like they do on YouTube, like they do on Instagram, like they do on Facebook, like they do on all these other platforms. And so the federal government and the alphabet soup agencies are absolutely gaslighting us. Absolutely. And that's why they do not believe in the First Amendment, freedom of speech. They don't want us talking about, no, the anomaly is not that my house doesn't, we might earn more money than we did 4 years ago, but we have a lower quality of life than we did 4 years ago, just like everybody else in the country. But the anomaly is the bullshit that they're feeding us as data, not your daily existence. And see, and there's also an election coming, allegedly, the end of this year, November-ish, allegedly an election coming. And they don't want freedom of speech. They don't want people talking about how terrible the Biden administration has been, how the Biden administration is owned by China and is laundering money through Eastern Europe, little thing called the Russia-Ukraine Special Military Operation. They don't want to talk about 10% for the big guy or the Parmesan King, his son who's a crack addict and who bangs whores. Is selling his air quote art, his finger paintings for millions and millions of dollars. They don't want to talk about how the Biden administration is an extension of the Obama administration and how Kamala Harris has somehow inexplicably a lower approval rating than Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. does. And so the Democrats are going to be forced either to try and run Hillary again, which is laughable, or to run Big Mike. And everybody knows that Big Mike is not Michelle. They don't want to talk about any of that. And they're going to get trounced, absolutely trounced by Donald Trump come November, if they allow an election to happen, who's the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party at this point, which is why they've been trying to jam him up with legal battles for the last 24 months. They don't want people saying any of that because it runs against their narrative. Because if you know the truth of the situation, if you talk to your neighbors and realize that everybody's going through the same thing and everybody thinks more or less the same thing, then you can't be gaslit by their propaganda. How's that for a fun little diatribe? Another supply chain pressure making waves right now is the avian influenza. Listen to this. This is interesting. This is maybe seeding some concepts into your brain. Predictive programming. Once again, the avian influenza is impacting poultry-related prices for consumers. For context, in January of 2023, so about 14 months ago, egg prices per dozen peaked at $4.82. And a year later, in 2024, they were edging up again to $3. Then they increased by 8.4% over the next month. Of course, it's not just inflation that's the only concern. The disease has impacted some non-avian species, and there have even been 882 human cases across 23 states, with one source citing a fatality rate of 52%. So let me restate that. When avian influenza, according to one source, jumps from birdies, chickens, Tyson Cornish cross abominations into people, it has a 52% fatality rate in people. You will eat the bugs. I hear Klaus Schwab cackling maniacally in the corner when I read this. You will own nothing and like it. You will eat the bugs. Because now, oh no, when the avian influenza jumps from birds to people, 1 in 2 people, 52% of people die from avian influenza when it jumps species. So therefore, we have to kill all of these birds, attack on infrastructure, supply chain, food. We could argue whether or not a Tyson Cornish cross bird is food or not. But food, like the hundreds of attacks that have been happening on American food infrastructure over the last few years, shut them down, which also puts all those people out of work, which also now gives the CDC and the World Health Organization another thing for everybody to be afraid of, because 52% of people who contract avian influenza die. So we can't have any of these dirty birds lying around. And oh, by the way, your backyard chickens, they're also birds. And this has happened in England. It's happened in Australia. It's happened in certain states in the United States of America, where when large flocks of production birds have been culled, that AO has also made it that your backyard chickens, Joel Salatin has fought this in Virginia, that his pastured poultry could also be carrying avian influenza. Therefore, they either need to be inoculated, they need the bird jab, or we have to kill all of them so that they don't carry it, because 52% of people die when they contract this disease. They want revolution. I'm becoming more and more convinced of it. They want revolution. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I'm not eating bugs. I'm not eating fake meat. I'm not culling all of my chickens, which are way healthier than anybody else's chickens. I got more eggs on the island in my kitchen than I can count right now. If I want chicken for dinner, I can walk outside with a 20 gauge and I don't have to take 10 steps and I have chicken for dinner. I'm not doing it. And part of why they can gaslight us with all this trash, part of why they can push all of our little buttons, is because for too long, too many men and women have let them. It's fine. Everything's fine. I don't want to speak up. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to make any waves. How many times have I said exercise your no muscle? Anybody from the government shows up and begins a conversation with "you have to," the answer is no. No, I don't. No, I don't have to. Show me anywhere in our founding documents where it says I have to kill my chickens because you're afraid of avian influenza. I'll wait. Oh, it's not in there. I'm not doing it. By the way, you're trespassing. Come back with a warrant, asshole. And then you can speak to my attorney. It's ridiculous. And we have the government we deserve, because for far too long we've turned a blind eye to these people doing what they do. We've allowed it to happen. Weak men make hard times. And we as a nation, maybe not we as the Bear Nation, but we as a nation have gotten weak. We are having legitimate arguments over how many genders there are. Do you need another proof point other than that? There are jurisdictions in this country where it is applauded when grown men in dresses show up to kindergarten classrooms and wave their junk at them. They have parades of this. And we're like, it's fine. Everything's fine. We are the "it's fine" meme. We're sitting in a house that's on fire going, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. Dana, no is a complete sentence. Exactly. No, I'm not playing your games. And here's another thing. Dare I say, every one of you should know this word, because this word is a sword and a shield. Because if I can articulate based upon this word per the First Amendment that I have freedom of religion here in this country, And I can appeal all the way to the Supreme Court, all the way up to Caesar. Sounds like Saul of Tarsus, doesn't it? You know what? I can show you in Genesis chapter 2 where it says, man's job is to rule and subdue, to work the garden and guard it. This is my garden, and I'm working it and guarding it. And if you have a problem with that, you are violating my religious beliefs. I appeal to the Supreme Court. In the meanwhile, you're trespassing, get off of my land. See, that's another thing. We could go over that. We've had so many bad leaders in the churches, in the synagogues, just really nice guys telling everybody else that they should just be really nice guys. Just love everybody. You know, the fruits of the Spirit are peace and kindness and love. Yes, Samson also had the Spirit on him and killed 1,000 Philistines. So that tells me that there's more than one category for fruits of the Spirit. Shamgar, an old dude with a pointy stick, killed 700 Philistines when the Spirit of Yahweh came upon him. Okay. What does that tell us? Probably not a good idea to be a Philistine trespassing on Shamgar's property. Right? And so if you know the word and you can articulate the word, hey, not only am I not playing your games, you're infringing upon my civil liberties as protected in the First Amendment. My right to freedom of religion. I'm doing everything to the best of my ability that my Creator has commanded me to do, and I'm not playing your games. I will not do it. Simple as that. I appeal to Caesar. Let's go. 52% of humans who contract avian influenza die. Dr. Chris Walzer works for the Wildlife Conservation Society and has warned of the concern that the virus could spread to humans as a pandemic, saying, quote, I think it's quite likely. This avian influenza outbreak has been one of the largest threats to wildlife globally. We just can't wait for it to hit human populations. Predictive programming. The people most vulnerable to becoming a potential ground zero are those working with poultry. The World Health Organization, which has tons of credibility, by the way, everybody believes everything they have to say. Going back to why do we need to ban TikTok? The World Health Organization considers the possibility of a human-to-human avian influenza a, quote, significant pandemic threat, end quote. Of course, if that happened, with an estimated 52% death rate, it would make the 2020 pandemic look like a walk in the park, socially, politically, and economically. Keep an eyeball on that, boys and gerbils. And by the way, I personally despise the fact that we have to pay attention to all of these things. That the people who air quote lead us are not trustworthy and true, that they do not have our best interests at heart, that they serve themselves, they don't serve the people that they represent, that their laws, their morals, their ethics are not rooted in the word of the Creator, that their laws are not God's laws, that they don't believe in love your neighbor as yourself and love the Lord your God with everything that you've got. Clearly, we know this because regardless of whether they say it or not, Messiah himself said, you shall know them by their fruits. What do they do? Believe what they do, not what they say. And if they were just idiots, at some point they would make a mistake in favor of the American people. They're not idiots. This is all coordinated. This is all part of their plan to fleece us for as much as they can while stripping us of as much of our responsibility, our birthright from the Creator as possible, so that they can oppress us, put their thumb on us. They're trying to we already have a socialist nation here in the United States of America. They're trying to edge us towards communism. Proof? Do you think China's applauding right now that the United States of America is talking about censoring speech? Come on, bro. Really? Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, has decided that all of us, the people with the backyard chickens and the AR-15, domestic terrorists, therefore legal to target them with the federal apparatus. We don't have a representative republic. We don't have what our founding fathers fought and died for. We don't have people who represent us. We don't have a republic. What type of governance have you given us, sir? A republic, if you can keep it. And I resent the fact that we are now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a duty and a responsibility for me and everybody within the sound of my voice to maintain what we have and restore what we have to the best of our ability. But I resent the fact that we have to do it in the first place. It's just freaking obnoxious. And I resent the fact that these people who air quote lead us are not trustworthy, cannot be trusted. Bye-bye. Where you going? Okay, have fun. I love you. Beat feet. No one to hold them accountable anymore. Well, and part of that is because of these damn rectangles. Because we're all distracted, and nobody teaches civics anymore. And the civics that does get taught comes out the government-funded, government-approved textbook that's read in the government-funded local school that's somehow funded by the federal government, because the federal government has used federal taxpayer money as a form of influence and coercion to influence states and local jurisdictions. Give you a great example: school lunch program. School lunch program. Why is attendance so important? Because if a kid isn't there, the school doesn't get the money for that kid each day. It's based upon attendance, which is why they're such sticklers for attendance, which is why they reward good attendance. It's not because they want that child to be sufficiently educated. It's because they want the money from the federal government that child represents. It's a broken system, dude. And it doesn't mean that there aren't good schools and that there aren't good educators, and that there aren't good students, and that there aren't teachers who are teaching real stuff. In fact, I know there are school teachers who are watching this show right now, and they'll tell you the same thing because I've talked to them. The whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's a mess. And I guess one upside to this is the younger generations are starting to realize it. There's this whole counterculture movement, traditional. It's good. And like their ethics are very basic and contextually amazing compared to the rest of the country and the world. Traditional roles for men and women. Love God with everything that you've got. Believe in Messiah. Raise a bunch of children. Live on land, not in the cities. Raise your own food. Do meaningful things with your homies. Do not allow governmental overreach. I'm like, heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. At least that gives me at least a little bit of hope. At least a little bit of hope. Let's do the bonus intel. Okay, Bear. These are doozies. Bonus intel again. Intel@bearindependent.com. Intel@bearindependent.com. What's the email, Bear? Intel@bearindependent.com. Don't want your links. Don't want your articles. I want your reporting on what you are seeing. Okay? Okay, Bear. All right, cool. Bonus intel. I'm an active duty military and stationed somewhere on the East Coast. All this week, there has been an exercise training for domestic and terroristic or military strikes across military posts, both kinetic and cyber attacks. While a lot of this is testing systems and procedures in the event that something happens, it stuck out to me as odd for a few reasons. First, the main adversary was a fictional group that was domestic in nature, indicating to me there is an increase in concern for groups operating within the United States, not foreign, but homegrown. Hold on to that when we get to the last piece of bonus intel. Remember that. Not domestic groups operating in the U.S., not foreign, but homegrown. Most domestic groups don't have the capability to be a credible cyber threat, but nation states and their proxies do. Second, this to me has all the signs of conditioning. For those unaware, conditioning is when you expose a group to a stimulus repeatedly so they become complacent, So when you conduct your actual action, it is a surprise. This happened all the time in the GWAT, the Global War on Terror, by routinely blacking out communications, helicopter flyovers, making it look that every time we left the wire, it was a huge assault force, and then hit them hard when their guard is down. For the better part of a week, there has been mass alerts, lockdowns, texts, and emails to the point it is hard to get things done. Therefore, most people are ignoring or silencing phones and emails. Finally, based off the intel you and others have put out about FEMA and hospitals stocking up for a similar event, we've talked about this, mass casualty events, I personally don't believe it to be a coincidence. Security posture has been beefed up, real world, and there seems to be more of a concern about things domestically versus abroad. Could just be my read, but I wanted to put it out there for you and others to make their own assessments. Next, I live in a small rural town in western Massachusetts where I have a part within emergency management and a role in the public sector for my community. Yes, I know what you're going to say about living in Massachusetts, but at this time, my only course of action is to help maintain the conservative values of the community in which I reside. On Friday, the 1st of March 24, 2 weeks ago, in a neighboring county, the West Boylston Police Department received an alarm call at a local cell tower site. Upon officers' arrival, they discovered 2 vehicles with New York registrations on scene and what appeared to be 4 workers wearing hard hats and work gear. And one of the workers was in the process of climbing the cell tower. The workers advised that they were subcontractors for T-Mobile with orders to decommission a 3G coax cable. They had no work orders or paperwork to back their claims. Officers also found the door to the cell tower office had been pried open and cables had been cut inside the office and outside on the tower. Verizon representatives advised the officers that this work was not ever approved or allowed and that this had been an ongoing problem at various cell towers throughout the area. It is alleged that the cable is stolen and then being sold as scrap. Back to my Bitcoin comment earlier. If you can't access the server, you don't have any money. That's my primary concern with it. I can access the server that holds my silver because it's a cigar box on a shelf in my house. And that's not all of my silver. It's also strategically located elsewhere. What are you laughing at me over there? My wife is laughing at me from across the room. All 4 individuals with names I cannot pronounce were charged with breaking and entering a building, daytime felony larceny over $1,200, vandalizing property, possession of burglarious instrument. Burglarious? That's a word, apparently. And trespassing. It has also been noted that other police departments in New England have reported similar crimes at their cell tower sites with the same described vehicles that were involved in the West Boylston theft. Thank you for taking the time to read my intel. I hope your viewers find it useful in their daily movements and remember to stay focused and aware of what is happening around them. So, systematic attacks of cell phone towers. Interesting. By persons who are not friendly to traditional Americans, sounds like. Next, I live on the east coast of South Carolina. My wife teaches at a public high school, and today she received an email stating that a local rescue squad is looking for volunteers from students and staff for what they're calling a mock mass rescue situation. They did not put a limit on how many people were allowed to volunteer. My first instinct was this could be in relation to hurricane preparedness, but in all our time living here, we have never seen or heard anything of the sort. I made many friends in local law enforcement during my time as a park ranger, and no one that I've reached out to has had any experience doing this in the past, as the state typically deploys National Guard for weather-related threats rather than relying on local law enforcement agencies. It could just be a local agency trying to step up their game, or it could be an indicator of it could be an indicator if occurring elsewhere as well. So, sounds like to me this is mass casualty incident MCI training. Having done this with law enforcement and educators, you'd need role players. And that's what it sounds like they're soliciting for, people to be role players. Because we could do this on a Sunday afternoon with an empty school, and that's a good walkthrough. But having students and educators in the building is makes it more realistic. Now, also, two words for you: Sandy Hook. I live in Northern California. I've been getting ready for whatever comes this presidential election, Trump 2024. I hope my state votes red. Thank you, Ace McLean. Sandy Hook. Now, a lot more of these drills and these trainings have been run than Sandy Hooks have occurred, Sandy Hook. Quixotic one said people should get familiar with triage. It is a paradigm changing, 100%. So FEMA/DHS is pushing local law enforcement and local hospitals to be trained in MCIs, mass casualty incidents. Why? We don't really know. But they're absolutely pushing law enforcement, EMS, and fire, public safety, and local and regional hospitals to be capable of dealing with mass casualty incidents. MCIs will overwhelm your emergency rooms, your triage nurses, your hospital beds, the existing infrastructure. We don't have enough ambulances. We don't have enough caregivers. And a lot of, at least where I live and the areas that we operate in, a lot of the public safety in the hospitals have never had any training at all in mass casualty incidents. To the point we reported a couple of Fridays ago, I believe, that other hospitals and other public safety departments are being required to train on this stuff as well. And that one person said it reminds them of the months before the lead up to COVID, that they knew something was coming pandemic-wise, but they didn't know what it was, because the hospital and all the personnel inside the hospital were required all of a sudden to get trained on pandemic and have their pandemic certifications and stockpile all of this stuff. And then a few months later, COVID hit. And that's the concern now, is that there's this push nationally for mass casualty incidents. What's a mass casualty incident? 4 or more injuries at the same time. And there's level 1 through 5. I think level 1 is 5 to 10, 2 is 11 to 25, 3 is 26 to 50, 4 is 50 to 250, and 5 is 250 plus, 250 casualties plus. Last year in Little Rock, Arkansas, a tornado hit, and part of where it hit was a college, and they had an MCI that was initial estimates were 600 injured, 600 people injured. What do you do when you have 600 people injured? Even if you have 100 ambulances, right? Which goes back to what Quixotic one was saying. Triage. Who needs what when? And so you got to know triage. So nationally, this push for mass casualty incident training and response is concerning, because again, it's an election year, and domestic terrorists, all of us, we are, according to Christopher Wray, and there's a bunch of bad people coming across our porous southern border every day. Next, I've worked for several heavy equipment service companies over the years, servicing diesel engines and dirt moving machines. Lately, things from our local cat dealer have been hard to come by, back ordered or otherwise outsourced. I'm told through the rumor mill this has something to do with various parts being sourced from the Russian market, but this is unsubstantiated at this time. I do know that the cat branded track pad bolts, rollers, and hydraulic fittings have been the best in terms of failure rate and longevity on our track machines. Same. Cat makes good stuff. These are also the parts that have been difficult to come by during peak seasons when feedlots are at capacity and need lots of manure work done. Even certain hydraulic oils spec'd for older machines by Caterpillar have been impossible to acquire, leading to either using warranty-voiding oil or shutting down and mothballing an otherwise perfect machine. Supply chain. As a side note, I've also noticed a huge uptick in the number of road building and earth moving machines in the local space popping up on auction sites. My higher ups in the business side tell me this is from construction companies overextending themselves in an attempt to undercut the competition during the Charlie Victor 19er fiasco. My understanding is that when work did not materialize, this big iron got sold off and companies folded. Well, let me speak on that for a hot minute. I have, when I say Grindstone has a brand new Cat 308 track hoe on rental for building Caleb House. We also have an older Cat 308 track hoe that a brother here in the Bear Nation has lent to us in perpetuity at this point. Praise Yah. And we've had some maintenance issues with the older track hoe, and it has been like pulling hen's teeth to get Caterpillar to come and service the machine because of a lack of people. Like, they don't have the service techs, and then when they do have the service techs, they're having a very hard time getting the parts. And so I've experienced that myself. The new machine that has like 1,400 hours on it, as compared to the old machine that's got, I think, over 6,000 hours on it. The older machine with 6,000 hours on it has a cycle time of at least twice what the new machine has, meaning I can do twice the amount of work with the older machine than I can with the new machine. The new machine has got all the bells and whistles and computers and cameras on it and DEF, diesel exhaust fluid system, and regen and all that crap. And it's a brand new Caterpillar machine. And I'm a Caterpillar fan. I like Caterpillar as a brand. And it's slow AF. And I have beep bop booped all the buttons on the computer inside of that thing to increase the cycle times and throttle all the way up and blah, 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 blah. And it's slow. It's slow. And it's not as strong as the older machine. The older machine digs dirt twice as fast. And so if you're looking for an older machine, yes, maintenance and parts is going to be an issue. But I would recommend one that's a little bit older, that still has plenty of service life left in it as compared to the new ones. Because our Cat 279 skid steer, it has so much freaking power. That machine, the power to weight rating on that machine is better than a D4 or D5 dozer. It's amazing how much power that little machine has. But it has no DEF. It has no bells and whistles. It's just diesel hydraulic fluid. That's it. That's it. Grease. That's it. That's all it needs. And so, while absolutely being a Caterpillar fan, I would not recommend getting a brand new machine because they're not as good as the older machines because of all the bells and whistles on them. I would recommend getting an older machine that still has plenty of service life left in it without all the bells and whistles, because they're easier to work on, they're easier to maintain, they have more power, they have higher cycle times. You get more productivity out of an older machine than you do a brand new one. So, my 2 cents. Somebody named Rocky is emailing us or is in the chat at refugemedical.com right now. Let's see. One last bit of intel. Cattle yards, the factory feedlot variety that most supermarket beef comes from, are downsizing in a big way. We went from moving a few million cubic yards every few quarters to less than 500,000. This being manure. In terms of manure output, you can directly correlate the amount of feed and head of cattle from that figure. This is a result of multiple factors, including input cost, drought, and likely fuel costs and taxes for operators. Between this and the fires in Texas, I suspect a massive run on beef the day the market realizes there's a huge gap in supply with no drop in demand. We will either have to import beef or deal with eating yearling and second year, essentially calves, for an inflated price. This equates to your average burger costing $15 instead of $5. Thanks, Biden. I've seen personally jobs lost at ag-related companies as ag-related companies have had to massively scale back when this should be the start of a peak season for manure spreading and feedlot cleanout. It's grim news for people who buy air quote food from the hole in the brick wall. Plant your seeds in the ground and get a Hebrew starter pack. I'm working on coming out of her, my people, as soon as possible. Y'all bless y'all, Bear Nation. Shalom. Got two more pieces of national intel here. I work at a chiropractic office in Edwardville, Illinois, which is near Scott Air Force Base. Gesundheit, honey. One of my patients is a former captain in the Navy and is now a civilian worker there that works closely with the 4-star general down here, as well as good friends with the deputy director of FBI and our state senators. One thing he has said to me was that they are in meetings right now about the Gaza situation. Well, dude, I appreciate the intel, but this just shows you, like, you should not be able to elicit this information. Nobody should be talking about this information. I'm glad you sent it to us, and I'm not chewing your ass, but this is not the type of information that people should be discussing with their chiropractor. Now, I love the chiropractor. I'm a huge fan. I like it when my vertebrae are properly aligned. I love it. In fact, it's wonderful. But, like, I don't tell my chiropractor anything that has anything to do with operational security. Because then he would email the Bear Nation all of this information. Okay, one thing he, who's a Navy captain, now a civilian worker, who works with a 4-star general, and who's friends with the deputy director of the FBI and state senators, one thing he said to me was they are in a meeting right now about the Gaza situation and that they are expecting boots on the ground to be over there within the next 60 days. I ran this by my sister and my brother-in-law, who are a sergeant in the Marine Corps and a lieutenant in the Navy, respectively, and they said they have heard similar things as well. They also have gone from just regular duty training to war preparations and have been told that something big is coming, but their superiors are being tight-lipped about it. On another note, supply chains are breaking down over here as well. Baby formula is being ran off the shelves. Our stores don't have as much produce and fresh meat as normal. And from talking to the employees there, they said that their trucks have been running low with the last few deliveries. Inflation is going crazy over here as well. This is in Illinois. A sandwich at Jimmy John's is $20, and the standard prices we charge insurance and people for just adjustment at our chiropractic office has jumped from $35 to $75 over the last week. All right, so allegedly in the next 60 days, U.S. boots on the ground in the Gaza situation. That is going to potential downside. Exacerbate current supply chain issues. I'm going to tell you something real quick. I'm telling you this because I care about y'all. This kit, the bare minimum, has sold out 3 times in the last 4 days. We're doing everything we can to keep it in stock. But we are now again seeing, Refuge is seeing now again, the type of supply chain issues that we saw during the pandemic. We've been creeping towards unavailability of cornerstone things like cat tourniquets, shears, gauze, okay? Even ballistic nylon has been hard to get. It's becoming harder and harder and harder and harder and harder to get, to the point now where our lead times on simple things like tourniquets are becoming damn near prohibitive. This kit is in stock right now. I would recommend you go check the website, refugemedical.com. Use your promo code BearNation for free shipping. If this kit isn't in stock, I would get something else that is in stock. The adventure kit, for example. And I'm not saying this to fearmonger you. I'm telling you facts. On a purchase order side of our company, it is getting back to the way it was immediately post-COVID. And this is because of an increase in demand worldwide for the Ukraine war, the Israel war, the purchasing that's being done by the Defense Logistics Agency. And now there's the whole country of the United States of America is being told by FEMA and DHS that they need to prepare for mass casualty incidents, and they don't even know what an MCI is. And they're like, oh crap, we need tourniquets, we need gauze, we need pressure bandages, we need quick clot, we need shears, we need nasal pharyngeal airways, we need chest seals. So, and we are the third largest, Refuge is the third largest purchaser of tourniquets in North America, behind the Department of Defense and law enforcement. So it's not like we're the bottom of the barrel. They'll ship these things to us when they get around to us. Like, we have some priority. They're getting hard to get again. That's an indicator for you. So now, as the entire country, every regional hospital, every local hospital, every 24-hour care facility, every public safety department is like, we need mass casualty incident training. We need mass casualty incident kits. We need to learn triage. We need to know all this stuff. They start buying things up. It's going to shrink the availability even further on the civilian market. So if you already have all the stuff you think you're going to need when it comes to medical, that's great. Mazel tov. Congratulations, you're squared away. If you don't, I would recommend, today's a great day to go to the store, refugemedical.com, see what you can find. Okay. And also, the store closes at sundown today, Friday, the 15th. It will reopen at sundown Saturday, the 16th, because 6 days ye shall labor. The 7th is a Sabbath of rest unto Yahweh your Elohim. So we turn our store off during Shabbat because we're not supposed to do commerce during Shabbat. And it's not very restful when like business emails and chats are coming in 24/7, 365. Could we ignore them? Yes. Well, that wouldn't be very good customer service, would it? How about buckets? Tactus Squirrel says, I do believe we have buckets in stock as well. The wound care bucket and both the birthing and postpartum buckets are in stock. Surgical buckets are currently sold out. The belt kit is also in stock. The boogie is in stock. Desk kit is in stock. Bleeding prevention kits, BPK, start at $60. It's a great kit if you don't have a whole lot of room in the budget because, you know, Janet Yellen, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., Consumer Price Index, inflation. BPK starts at $60. The pocket is in stock. Bare minimum is in stock. The Forester is in stock, which is a leather kit. And then a whole bunch of other stuff is not in stock. And we also have a built to order page for like your smash kits, your crash kits, canine kits, for example. Like if you run dogs, like professional working dogs, and you need a canine handlers kit, we've got 3 different canine kits. Field medic stomp, mass casualty kit. I forecast our ability to keep the mass casualty kit in stock is going to be non-existent over the next few months because there's going to be so many jurisdictions and departments that are like, we need mass casualty kits. And the basics, mass casualty kit is like basics. It's just a very large IFAC. And so your food groups in there are going to be like tourniquets, pressure bandages, wound packing gauze, quick clot, and chest seals, which goes in all of our kits. So And I'm telling you guys and girls this because I care about you, because this company was built on the back of the Bear Nation. And I'm very, very thankful for y'all. And I don't want you guys and girls to not have the stuff that you think you need. And so if you think you need something, go to the store, okay? Because it's our ability to bring inventory. This is my intel to you. I'm giving you an update. Our ability to bring material in, to bring components in, from finished components like a tourniquet down to subcomponents like ballistic nylon and snaps and grommets and webbing, is becoming harder and harder and harder to source. So, all right. Shall we continue? Yes, we shall, Bear. All right. Fabulous. Last piece of national intel. I work for the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, the military side of the house. This is super interesting. Remember that I told you in the first piece of national intel, I said, hold on to that bit of intel regarding domestic, terroristic, or military type attacks on military posts, both cyber and kinetic. Okay. Basically, domestic bad actors. Remember, I said, hold on to that nugget. Last bit of intel. I work for the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veteran Affairs on the military side of the house. I manage construction and maintenance at 20 National Guard facilities on the eastern side of Pennsylvania. Last month, the Pennsylvania State Police had training in Wilkes-Barre, as they do every month. This one was different. They were drilling riot control. This one included horses and smoke. I really thought nothing of it until I was at another facility in Hershey last week. They were doing the same drills. I talked to the instructor, who I recognized from a month earlier, and he stated that they were conducting this training statewide. No big deal, except at Wilkes-Barre, I couldn't hear what they were saying over the loudspeaker. At Hershey, a much smaller facility, during smoke training, the guy on the speaker was chanting something very similar to "Let's Go Brandon" or "F Joe Biden." So the simulated bad actors that the Pennsylvania State Police are drilling to be able to address via riot control are chanting "Let's Go Brandon" or "F Joe Biden." That told me all I needed to know for what Pennsylvania State Police is readying for. That is the brief for today. Of course, you will find all the links in the description. Again, National Suicide Prevention Hotline, dial 988. Your life matters. People love you. Don't listen to the bullshit voices whispering in your head. Talk to somebody. Dial 988. Bear Independent swag, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee cups, blah, 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 all that stuff. When you buy one of those things, it helps us build our house and our front yard, which is cool. Because praise Yah, our family is growing, and our current house needs to get smacked into a pile with one of those track hoses I was telling you about. RefugeMedical.com. I've already told you about Refuge Medical. Use promo code BearNation. You'll get free shipping on all your stuff. Patreon video that went up this morning was about QRF, Quick Reaction Forces for Mags and Tribe, and what that looks like and considerations for that. And we did our Patreon exclusive live stream Thursday last night, which was cut short because the sky got angry. And so instead of 2 to 3 hours, it was only about an hour and 15 minutes long or so. But it was a good pelt. And so, and that, again, all of our in-depth exclusive content's over on Patreon. So if you want to drill deeper on any of these things, it's all over on Patreon. There's thousands of videos there. And so for your $10 a month, you get access to thousands of videos. Let's see what else. Grindstone Ministries. Let's talk about Grindstone real quick. In Logan County, Ohio, last night, there were a lot of tornadoes yesterday, but one in particular touched down in Logan County. At least 3 people are dead, and buildings have been destroyed in Indiana and Ohio. There were storms that were stretching from North Texas through Oklahoma into Arkansas and Missouri, up into Indiana, Illinois, over into Kentucky, and Tennessee last night. And there was a lot of potential for a lot of extreme weather last night. And praise Yah, it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. And so Logan County, Ohio is very far outside of the circle that we have drawn for ourselves with response for Grindstone Ministries, because our logistics wins wars, and that's a very long way for us to go. So we've learned a thing or two over the last 41 deployments with Grindstone. The further we get away from home, the harder it is for us to be effective. So we have a 500-mile radius that we will operate in, and Logan County, Ohio is outside of that radius. Additionally, looking at the damage from what I can find OSINT, I'm sure for the people in Logan County, Kentucky, it's terrible right now. And I am not diminishing what they're going through in any way, but it is not a Mayfield, Kentucky. It is not a Rolling Fork, Mississippi. It's not even a Perryton, Texas. And so to go 800 plus miles for not that much work. Trevin says 500-mile response area is huge. Yeah, it is. It is. It's a big deal. Some quick math on that. It works out to, I don't know, pi times radius squared, right? So let's do that. What's the area of a circle? Yesterday was Pi Day, by the way. So the radius is 500 times 500. It's 250,000 times 3.14. So it's just shy of 800,000 square miles of coverage for Grindstone. That's not nothing. It's not nothing. But while we will do what we can do, on the Grindstone side to support people who are in Logan County doing the work, it does not rise to the level of a Grindstone deployment. It's far too localized from what I've seen thus far. So also at grindstoneministries.com, if you need a copy of the scriptures, that's this book right here. It is the word of the creator of the universe. This is the Bible. It's just a translation of the Bible that I like from the Institute for Scriptural Research. And as you can see, mine has a few miles on it. You can get one of these at grindstoneministries.com at our cost. We do not profit from the word of the creator. And if you can't afford one, you can contact us at grindstoneministries.com. Link is in the description, and I will send you one for free because I think everybody should have access to the Word of Yah. And thank you to all of y'all who have donated Bibles throughout the years so that we can provide them for free to other folks. What's up, Kentucky Sustainable Living? It's just as part of the chat I had yesterday with Billy Bond, who's an awesome brother and friend. Your name came up. Good people. So grindstoneministries.com if you need a Bible. Check us out there. And Caleb House with a K, calebhouse.org. Caleb House is our juvenile human trafficking survivor restoration facility, which is a bunch of $50 words for it. It's the place where we put kiddos back together again. I emailed you yesterday about it. Awesome. Kentucky Sustainable Living. I appreciate you. After doing the final math on the ruckus, it looks like from that one event, we cleared about $60,000 in the black, which is beautiful. And thank you to everybody. Can't do it without you. That's amazing. And it's very meaningful. I'm a realist. I don't know if you've noticed that. I'm a realist. To build Caleb House 1, to staff it and fund it for the first year, will take about $7 million. Now, we've already raised, praise Yah, over $1 million of that. So we're 1/7 done. Also, 7, interesting number. There it is again. What's up, Mark O'Connor? So we're 1/7 of the way done, and I'm not letting that keep us from doing what we need to do. He who can be trusted with little can be trusted with much, and so we are. We've poured concrete for the foundation on the first care house. The dirt work is constantly ongoing there because you got to move a lot of dirt to make room for 10 houses and a barn and an admin building and a shop and leach field and run water lines and build roads and all that stuff. So dirt work is ongoing. Again, shout out to our brother who has lent us in perpetuity both a dozer and a track hoe. That's amazing. And shout out to y'all who have funded through Grindstone the purchase of a skid steer for both disaster relief and for dirt work at Caleb House. But we're 1/7 funded, and I wanted to, and when we're funded for Caleb House 1, that'll bring another 60 beds online. So let's do some quick math. So $7 million divided by 60 makes the initial cost about $117,000 per bed. Initial cost. Operating expense after that drops to about $17,000 a year per bed. Okay, so it's after the initial cost, it's about $17,000 per year per child. Now, we spend in America $70,000 a year on average to house inmates, the people who have hurt these kiddos in the first place. So just remember that 117 and 17. Okay. The federal government allocates $150 million per year to anti-human trafficking. Currently, there are 420 DHS sanctioned beds in the United States of America. So if we take that $150 million, of which we've never seen a dime, and of which I'm 0% interested in getting any of that money, but we take that $150 million and we divide it by 420 beds total in the United States, it's $360,000 per bed per year. So we are already, while in the construction phase, by privatizing this and crowdfunding this, and let's just quantify costs. I told you I'm a realist. In the construction phase, we're 33% the cost of the federal government. After the construction phase, we are 1/20th the cost of the federal government. 1/20th the cost of the federal government. Should that shock us? No. But there's the truth. Numbers don't lie, right? Garbage in, garbage out. But if you put the right numbers in, they don't lie. So right now, during construction, including the first year of operation, Caleb House 1 will cost per bed, per child, $117,000. Once it's built, operational costs will be approximately $17,000 per child per year. The federal government currently, with the existing 420 beds, take $150 million divided by 420, currently costs $357,000 per bed. Fluster Cluck, bless you, sister. Good morning, Zoe, Trenchcoat, and Squish. Appreciate y'all. And so we're building Caleb House. We're 1/7 funded. Praise Yah. And I'm amazed that we raised $60,000 at the Ruckus. That's awesome. And if we raised $0 at the Ruckus would have still been awesome because it was a beautiful, wonderful thing of 250 people coming together, unified, marching literally and figuratively towards a common goal, praising the Father, operating in righteousness, allowing room for the Spirit to move. It was a beautiful and wonderful thing. We're just getting started. We are just getting started. We need another $6 million for Caleb House 1. So please keep that in prayer. And we're not building one of them. I will, be it the Father's will, build hundreds of these facilities until we don't need them anymore. Until this problem has solved itself. Because again, clearly, the government can't do it. The government isn't doing it. And to the extent that they are doing it, they're doing it at a cost of $350,000 per child per year. And we can get that number to 17, definitely under 20K per year. And so for everybody who supports what we do, yeah, Trevin, a good number of baptisms too. Only 42 people got baptized at the ruckus. Amazing. Just amazing. So for the people that support what we do at Caleb House, I appreciate you more than there are words. And I say this with encouragement. We're just getting started. We are just getting started. And we've already rescued dozens of people and gotten dozens of convictions. We're just getting started. We don't even have the facility built yet. Praise Yah. We're just getting started. So thank you for supporting what we do. Caleb House, Caleb with a K.org. Let's talk to the creator real quick. Then I'm going to pee. Good morning, Father Yah. Father, thank you that the sky didn't get too angry last night. Thank you for being sovereign over all things, Father. Thank you for your perfect will and your perfect purpose and timing. And just you are the king of all things, including logistics. And so, Father, thank you that there was not more loss of life last night due to these storms. And Father, the people that are affected by these storms, we lift them up to you and ask you to comfort them today, and that you would minister to the souls of those who lost their life. Father, thank you for blessing the work of our hands and for allowing us to light our lamps and shine into the darkness on your behalf. Father, thank you for using us for your will. Father, be with us today as we enter into your rest. Please don't forget us as we do our best to not forget you. Please pour out your provision and protection and blessing, Father, in your spirit for wisdom and discernment, that we would not be conformed to this world, that we would be a lamp and a light in it, but not of it. Father, thank you for the atoning sacrifice of Yeshua HaMashiach. Thank you for covering us with the blood, that we might have a way to come home again. Thank you for forgiveness of sins and for a model to walk in, that we might know righteousness from unrighteousness. Thank you for the conviction of your Ruach HaKodesh to walk in your ways to the best of our broken ability. Father, Yah, be with us today. Be with all the people within the sound of my voice today. I lift them up to you and ask you to protect them, provide for them, and bless them this day. In Yeshua's name, amen. I hope you guys. Roger Rabbit Hole, what's up, brother? Shalom.
It's a long time.
I know. Shalom, brother. I hope you guys have an awesome day and an awesome day of rest. And be the light. Keep fighting the good fight. All it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Luckily for us, I'm a workaholic. So doing nothing is very difficult for me. And for y'all as well, I would assume. I appreciate y'all very, very deeply. And I will see you when I see you. Shalom.